finance it, I don't see it happening. And then I think that we can use the other part of that, like Wynn just got done with evidence storing was costing us like $300 a month on each car. And the hospital has an area over there right now in the ambulance room that's, their secure storage is chicken wire. So they need storage, we need storage for, and that's something that other room could be used for.
And I get that, I hear that, I've heard it for years. But what I'm asking is, what's the long-term plan for the building? Not are our needs going to grow, what are our needs, but what's the long-term plan for the building? That's something we need to drill down to.
Well, I'd
with our
like to, like
partners.
Mike was saying, replace those front windows and redo that entire front. And,
Right,
you know, I don't know.
I think we all
I think
would.
that as we continue to grow, if we ended up with that building and we did manage to move extension out, it's gonna be some more place for some more office space. And the other thing that's really is an open meeting room for people, because you just don't have meeting rooms around that people can use.
No, and I guess maybe in my plan, I should ask this better. Does that building have a life left in it?
Well,
It was a gas station.
Yeah, but the structural part of it, I mean, is solid. It's
Okay.
all cinder block. It's just the roof needs to be addressed. I mean, someday, like, we're gonna, you know, someday you'll have to replace all the rubber up there. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, or do something different. I mean, it's, you know, rubber roofs, they don't last forever. It's kinda like next door here. I mean, they put the thinnest mill over here, at least they put a nice thick mill over there. You know, it hasn't been taken care of in a long time. The seams are starting to pull
That's-
apart. But that's where in that part of that EPDM, you know, patch repair, it lasts for, as far as I know, 10, 20 years. You know,
The
it's
seams
yeah, the seams.
they
You
roof?
redo all the seams.
in the roof?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I wasn't
Yeah.
sure what you were talking about.
Yeah, and so I mean, everything can be addressed. It just depends on how far you guys wanna go. I mean, like I was saying, like Mike said, if you guys are gonna take it over, use this long term, I would probably do a big, long lease.
And the thing is
So-
that as far as life goes,
Mm-hmm.
with that roof maintenance, that building ain't going nowhere.
So you think it's got a good 30 years?
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, cinder block is cinder block. It's not gonna go anywhere. The problem is it just needs to be insulated. It needs a lot of TLC. It
Okay.
needs a lot of, it needs
Well,
work.
I don't think it's solid concrete.
Yeah, the walls?
Yeah, it's
They
all
might
solid
be, they might be
concrete.
poured walls.
They're all poured walls, because if you look where they cut that door out,
Mhm.
you can see where all the form lines on all the
Okay.
rest of the exterior walls are.
I didn't pay attention to
The
that.
only thing that's cinder block is they cinder block in old windows.
Oh, okay.
The rest of that's just, it's solid concrete.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I'm thinking about it.
Okay, so we're talking 30 years is the potential life of the building.
Or,
We're
yeah,
talking about-
longer. Walls aren't gonna go anywhere unless you explode them.
Yeah.
The roof, you're gonna have to address the roof, address the heating, and then you can make some changes in there, like, maybe do an ADA bathroom inside there so that you have, because you have a meeting room.
Right,
You know, but that can all be done over time frame too. I mean, we, as the county, we can do what we wanna do on that building to make it so it works for everybody. I mean, Weed has a problem with his chemical storage. We could also block off an area and frame in a chemical storage area right outside that door
Yeah.
where the asbestos is too. I mean, we could do a lot of stuff. Make a, you know, a special containment room just for that. So there's that lot has a lot of potential, actually. I thought a lot about it over the last week, and it does have a lot of potential, but it's gonna take some work and some TLC on it.
and we do need to find out what the long-term plan is with the owners of the building before we put a lot of money
Yeah.
into it. Because if they do they've bought Grover's building now going down, if they do have a plan of extending that direction rather than buying a lot somewhere, that's something we need to at least know about. We need to have a discussion at the very least. So, what would be the financial plan? So we're talking about some immediate stuff, we're talking about some long-term stuff, we're talking about 30 years, the life of the building. What's the financial plan, Mike?
Well, I think that the things that we're talking about right now, we would try to address these smaller things with built money, I would think.
Yeah.
As far as the insulation,
He-
right now, the most important thing is to get the insulation done.
Yeah, I'd say the insulation in the roof.
And the framing will go with the insulation.
Yeah, well, you need that for the insulation.
I
so
mean,
you spray it in.
all these prices that you brought us right here, the insulation, the framing, the exterior doors,
Yeah,
I wouldn't worry about the replacing those windows, you know, that could wait another year to do that.
and then after you get the roof and the insulation, then we can start addressing the heating issues in there and thermostats, so that we can start cutting those costs down.
And then we're gonna have to do the floor.
Yeah, and I would do a lighting upgrade,
Yeah.
and that's not a big deal, a lighting upgrade, it'd take, a couple weeks, a couple hours a day, just replacing ballasts or fixtures.
And I would like to talk to the guy, I believe his last name is Flynn, that works at the state for the Main Street Development.
You talk to Ernie Forey, because
Okay.
that, you'd go through BCDC to get
And
to
then
the
you,
Main
but
Street.
you can get state money for that, and he said they could provide a significant grant if we can get that approved to address the outside.
Oh.
That would be good, if you could pursue that, that would be important, because we need to talk about PILT if we're talking about a financial plan. We don't have any extra PILT this year.
Yeah, I realize that.
One is, we've guaranteed that we're not gonna leave our floating mill departments other than general fund without the funds that we took this year to balance our budget. So that's coming out of PILT at the end of the year. The other thing is our general fund has no reserves. So we have no money right now from July 1 until November when taxes come in. If we don't have each of our departments saving their 10%, and it's possible that won't be enough, we will not have any money to do the things we're legally obligated to do. So PILT cannot be our financial plan. You've gotta come up with your grant idea, perfect.
That would-
PILT has gotta not be our financial plan.
Well, the grant would be able to replace all your windows and everything, that would pay for all that.
Would
Okay.
does Northwest have a program for energy?
No, they came in, I have to reread it, but it was mostly, it was just talking about the lighting and heating costs and the insulation and stuff, and I don't think they give any kind of rebates for the insulation, they do give lighting rebates. Sorry.
So,
Just a comment on that.
Yeah.
Billings Clinic, sort of a energy audit, and so we're signed up next spring for a total energy audit. We can include that building in, I'm sure, in the energy audit. That sort of sets the stage for other grant dollars that might be available.
We already did one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we did an energy audit. And you can get savings for your lighting upgrades. Well, I think once in a lifetime.
I'll work with you just in case there's another.
Yeah, if there's another avenue, I'd be more than happy to look any other avenue.
you
But
know,
they might combine both of them together too, and help out. I mean,
so what we're talking about is the long-term plan. I don't know how long we've been here.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
Okay, all right.
yeah.
So we need to drill down on grants. Mike, if you could continue looking at those, because we're gonna have to find a way to pay. So the garage doors, that's where a lot of our heat for the ambulance is going, is right through, underneath those doors, right through the windows.
Most
Would
of-
that be a phase one to replace those?
No, I would do the phase one like we were talking about, doing the insulation and fix the roof. I think you're
Okay.
gonna save a lot with just the insulation. When you core bond all those exterior walls, cause there's nothing there. I mean, it's just like the jail, when they didn't do any insulation in jail, it's all cinder block walls. And then by the time we hit the end of January, you're transferring through everything. Because you've lost any kind of thermal, it just sucks it up, that concrete.
So would that be maybe, what, a phase two? I mean, how much of our priority is,
I would do
Solid.
roof and insulation, and then I would go with the heating ductwork, this would be phase two,
okay,
and then address maybe your exterior doors and your windows, cause that might be under grant too, those roll-up exterior doors.
Okay. Grant question mark?
And there's a lot of, anything, you know, if it's anything to do with exterior, I would think the grant would cover it. You can get
Okay.
better insulated doors, you can get, I mean, cause the doors are insulated, weren't they? Like,
Yeah.
They were just the window panes.
Do we need to do anything about where the doors don't quite meet the
Yes.
ground? What would that be? Would it be just concrete work? Talk to me about that.
Well, what they did, well, one door is fine, it goes and meets the ground, actually, the other door meets the threshold. Is what they did is they just cut out, and then they have these boards they stacked in there, and they run their ambulances over. You're never gonna get a direct, full seal to the door to concrete, to a, you know, you're always gonna have, the only thing you can do is replace those little strips underneath.
And that's all we need to do?
Yeah, cause
Okay.
when the garage door goes down, it tightens up to the floor, and those insulation, those rubber strips is what seals the door from the exterior. And, you know, it's kinda like my garage doors, I have two of them that seal, and then I have one that doesn't quite, because it's not an electric one, it's one you just step and just push the thing over. And those don't seal completely.
Okay. So the floor crack,
Floor crack, the only way you're gonna know is to, when you get in there and hammer it out. I
hammer
think.
out the whole thing or just the crack?
I would say, what would you say, Mike? Just,
I'd say you probably wanna go, I'd start out going about 3 feet each way of those cracks and see what's going on, if you
Yeah.
just address that one area.
yeah, cause I mean, you don't know exactly where the water's coming from. It could be a spring right there. Could be water coming from the back, could be, it seems like a long ways though for water to flow.
Well, it could be water coming in from the front where they knocked
Yeah.
all that rock off, and there's that one hole there right by the ramp,
Yeah,
cause all that stuff's out front.
yeah, could be. It's just hard to know where, water comes from, it just follows the path of least resistance.
So the floor crack, that's probably not structural, or could it be? So a crack in the floor isn't gonna hit the walls, okay, or stress the walls?
It'll only stress your interior walls.
Okay.
Those exterior walls are solid. You'd take a atomic, well, North Korea might hit it. They just said yesterday they can go all the way across the whole lower
We
48.
might have to hire 'em.
So what we're looking at this point is, it's fine as long as we have duct tape and baling line and bubble gum.
You know?
All right. So MacGyver,
There you go.
yes.
They got a leather tool.
All right, so, the front facade. When the new sidewalks were put in, that whole facade fell off, because what was holding it on was the sidewalks. So, we have, in my opinion, a responsibility to our community. BCDC does storefront grants all the time to try and help community businesses beautify their buildings, to help our whole downtown and help the whole business district. And here we are with the county in a building that is probably the worst eyesore we have in town. In my opinion, if we're gonna do anything with this building, phase one has to be that front facade. Is that agreeable to you guys, and what are we looking at to put something up so that it isn't a big gaping hole in the front of this building, which also doesn't look good for extension?
Yeah, but isn't that where part of that grant would cover that or not?
Yeah,
I
that's
think
what
so.
the grant would be for the front.
Yeah.
We haven't seen the grant, though, to be able to make any
Well, so then I guess
definitive.
just look into the grant, because you're gonna wanna replace the windows before you do the front facade too.
But we really have been remiss for our community that it hasn't been fixed already.
Yeah.
So, we need this information.
I think
ASAP.
that-
We should have it for today.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has come down to, I mean, not all of us know that, because we don't own the building, so we're just kinda sitting there in it, and nobody's really come forward to try to do anything about the building yet. And now, I guess now it's sitting in our lap, whether we're gonna do the building or not do the building is the question.
And along with that is whether we're going to do the facade is the question. Are
Well,
we
if
gonna
we-
be responsible to our community?
Yeah, if you're gonna take over the building, I would assume you'd have to,
We would have to.
yeah.
I'm,
And I think that's where Mike was talking about, getting a grant, and then we were talking about the reciting of it, and having to fix that outside. But it depends on whether you guys can sign a lease, or if they're gonna give it to you, or however that works.
And Mike, where are you at on the facade? I mean, obviously I have a pretty strong opinion, give me some feedback.
Oh, I definitely think it needs to be replaced, but I think that you're a lot better to address our energy use before we address the exterior. Not necessarily all of our energy, but I would think that you would wanna go with your insulation in the back and see what that does to your heat system. Then as soon as, I would do the insulation and then go do the facade, because when we do the facade, we can change the windows, that'll help with energy, and then that'll also make that look a lot better.
So what I'm hearing is the facade would be phase 2 at the latest.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
I would
Okay,
think so.
I'm writing that in stone with my chisel. Okay,
And then I would think we would wanna do something, you know, with what's the sided front now, and then we need to figure out something to do with that big white wall
on the
on the
east side. Yeah,
What I would myself, I'd like to see like a mural like they have down there on the coffee shop, but with academics on it versus sports. Put the FAA up there, put the learning skills, put your 4-H up there, put the speech and drama. Some of those less mentioned extracurricular activities that the school actually excels pretty good in, really.
we're 12th in the state
Yeah.
in that very thing, Mike, so I think
And I
that
think
would be excellent, we should showcase
that would
that.
make it look pretty good, I would think.
BCDC is working on some wraps for the community, we could ask them to actually incorporate that as well.
Also,
I don't know if they
think
can.
about, medical center corridor, somewhere on that wall.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely, yeah, since it is your building, too.
There's medical center corridor. We've been chastised for not having enough advertising about where the hospital is and what we do, so, a thought.
Yeah. One of my issues, and this goes back to Virginia, but I do not feel that nitrate testing in the kitchen is okay. I do not feel that nitrate testing in the public restroom is okay. So, is
Yeah.
there talk about, a lab is a sink and a counter. Is there talk about a sink and a counter going
Yeah,
into this building?
we talked about putting a lab in that side of the building, or at least a separated lab. You probably wouldn't really wanna put it in that side of the building because of plumbing issues. But you're gonna cut the floor out,
You
you're
cut
gonna
the
cut a
floor.
good chunk of the floor out anyway, so it's not,
Yeah.
you could address that also.
Yeah, you could, depending on how thick it is, you could actually just cut a floor all the way across, you're already removing part of it.
Yeah,
At that point, it'd be, not
and
that
I
big.
think there's a crack back in that area too, is there
It-
not?
I don't remember.
If you look
Well,
at that.
there's no, the walls in the center are not even structural or nothing. There's a hallway there that's just useless.
There is a, well, I don't know if it's old safe or something, but there is some concrete walls there right in the middle.
Yeah,
Where the vault is,
that's a
Yeah.
vault.
that could be your lab.
There you go.
Oh, man, there.
So the weed and mosquito shower and the ADA bathroom, we could do those at the same time right next door, so you're keeping your plumbing together, correct?
You could, yes.
Is that an agreeable idea, Mike?
In the long term, you could. You could
I think if you isolated it, would be, the only real reason that I have the weed and mosquito down at the ambulance was because it's closer to their shop. I mean, if they need to come from their shop to a shower facility, it's right there, and they can also fill their water, but I don't know why you couldn't incorporate another bathroom into there for them and move that facility over there.
That would be the other thing, they're filling their water is a safety issue. And that's one of the reasons that we started looking at
Mhm.
some other place for weed. Can we put in a fill-in station
Mhm.
there?
Oh, you
Okay.
could do, if you get rid of that asbestos, and like you were talking about, somebody told you that you could maybe get rid of that in their slow months.
Yeah, you want to put that out for bid about August or September and specify that it has to be done in January, because
Yeah.
they aren't doing any work. Their busiest time is in the summer because they're addressing asbestos in schools and government buildings in the summer. So they're available a lot cheaper in the winter than they would be in other times of year.
Okay, so that's a yes from you guys that we would be addressing a lab, weed and mosquito shower facilities, laundry, ADA bathroom, and water staging area as well?
That would be very easily put into water staging, would be very easily put into.
Yeah,
Okay.
Especially if it's, if you added on back to kind of where the asbestos room is, where that generator is, you could actually add on your chemical room out, so it's exterior.
that's
and-
true.
And then put a fill station right out there, containment fill station for him very easily with a covered area. It wouldn't be no pull-through like he wants, but he could, deal with it.
Everybody wanted pull-through, nobody's getting it. Search
Yeah.
and rescue's got
Right.
no pull-throughs either now.
Yeah.
See, and that was the other thing too, with the search and rescue building, is they have for some reason, they have a 2-inch main coming into that building.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the thought, was to bring that main back out and run it back to the back so he could fill there.
Mm.
Because like I said, for some reason, there's a 2-inch main coming into that building. and
Yeah, there is.
Nobody knows why. Well, it used to be a state shop, that's probably why.
So the equipment storage for mosquito and weed, is there enough room in the back area next to the ambulances for his equipment?
I think there would be if he was to spend a couple of them,
If he was what?
just hang them instead of parking everything in there with a trailer, just hang them. He could hang them from the ceiling, just put them on a come along and jack them up, and then you put another one right below. Instead of
This isn't-
wasting, you have a 4-foot sprayer, and then you got 8 feet of open space up there, you can hang 3 sprayers in there at the
On the
same
winter
time,
time.
because they don't weigh nothing.
So one of the things to keep in mind with this when we're talking about money is, weed and mosquito both are sitting on money that they've been saving for this kind of a project.
Mhm.
So if this could be a combination of the two, if it's temporary, I'm not gonna support their spending money on a temporary fix.
No.
No, and you
If
know,
this is long-term, I think it's a good avenue for some financing for this.
what if you could use some of his outdoor
I wish you were here.
equipment you could store is over there where the old satellite dish was by the health department.
That might be,
That's a pretty big lot in there.
it might be targeted for use also.
Okay.
It might not be an empty lot
All right.
much longer. But I'm not sure of the status of that.
Oh.
And if that happens, then we'd have the ambulance bay for chemical storage and
Well, you'd
equipment
have-
storage.
You'd have equipment storage in there,
Yeah,
and then you could take out that wall in between,
right.
and you'd have a huge storage area.
And we wouldn't have to heat it above 50,
Nope.
if even 50, if everything is drained and
Yeah.
weatherized. It's out of the sun, it's out of the UV, which is
That's true.
good. So, yeah, it wouldn't even have to be heated at that
And you
that
could even
point.
fence that whole back little area, so it's all fenced in too. So
Yeah.
if there was any kind of outdoor storage, then you could use that as fenced if if that whole bay opened up.
Yeah. It does limit how much room we have for evidence, though, so we'd have to drill down on those and what we
Yeah.
wanna do. And again, this is only if it's long-term. But, okay. Yeah, I think this answers a lot of my questions, and I think that's why these meetings are important, because I know you've been working on this, Mike, but I haven't known any of the details. All I've been hearing is rumor, and you know what rumors are. They're not honest. So, I think we have to sit down with the hospital district board, with Kyle and the rest of his staff, and I think we need to drill down on
Mhm.
what is the future for that lot. We also have to, I think, if you could maybe go over with us to look at the senior center.
Mhm.
If we're removing something that could have been a solution, Mike, you need to know what the issues are with the senior center firsthand, so that we can start addressing what's another option. Because at some point, we're gonna get to the point where we have to do something, and right now, I don't know what that would be.
The only issues I know of with the senior center is the hood, and it's just because it costs so much. It's like, if I remember right, we got a quote, it was like 30 grand
Yeah,
to replace the hood, to update it to today's standards.
yeah.
I've updated everything else in there, and then I repair everything else that doesn't, like the dishwasher and stuff.
Did you repair the floor? Okay, good.
Yep.
The only other thing is storage. She
Mhm.
doesn't have any storage inside.
No, and
And that storage shed is,
yeah, the storage shed is full. We talked about doing that at one time when the hospital was wanting to do some things, and we were talking about putting a breezeway and then building something out back.
yeah,
Where that storage, she has that little shed now that was more able to hold her foods and other storages. We were talking about that a long time ago. That was a few years ago.
there were still some planning questions, so it's not really something we can jump into till we have some
Yeah.
answers there.
But other than that, I mean, I've addressed all the other issues with the senior center and made them work,
Yeah,
except for the hood. The hood, that was just a lot of money there,
yeah.
so. That was my questions. I mean, I see a lot of money into it, but if you're gonna take, it's investment if you're gonna take over the building. And there is a need for the building, I see it. It's not the greatest building in the world, I mean, but it can be worked with.
Yeah. Yeah, we just need some more answers, I think. But if we can get some more information on grant opportunities to pay for this, energy audit paybacks, and then target a financial source for this. I don't know if you wanna look into a BOI option, Mike, being able to spread out the cost over 10 years would make it a whole lot more economically feasible, since we just simply don't have PILT. Right now, I will not be comfortable using PILT until we know what our future looks like, and it hasn't been reauthorized for next year yet.
Yeah.
I believe it will be. That's what everybody's saying, but it hasn't been yet, and Congress just doesn't have a record for getting a lot done.
And I can look in the Northwest, call those guys at Northwestern Energy again and see if they can give us some kind of insulation rebates and see if they can, I don't think they do insulation, but at least I can get, lighting rebates, cause I know the guy over in Butte that does that. And we can maybe get all new fixtures and LED fixtures for half the price,
Yeah,
and then I can put them all in to save money there.
Wish we were a couple more years down the road, we had a little more financial stability and talk about a little better idea where we're gonna go, cause that building is, what, 1984, and there's a ton of building, the hospital building. There's a ton of, corroded pipes everywhere. We're spending $40,000 just to redo the whole piping underneath the bathroom right now. And I'm sure that that's just a lead to the rest of the issues underneath that. So, in the planning session that we had about 5 months ago, actually talked about a new building someplace. And the thing that's scary is we do now have the 2 storage buildings lined up. And that alley always interrupts the campus, as well as the water main going down Oak Street. So it's like, are we gonna patch it together, or are we gonna do it right? And financially, a year from now, we'll have a better answer for that. We don't wanna do something that boxes us in for the future. So kind of, I guess, by golly, and if that building's gonna stay there, the ambulance building, then it sure makes sense to spruce it up.
we also need a crystal ball for the
Yeah.
next year, because how much money do you put in to spruce up if it's going to be
Yeah.
3 years or 30? We just don't know.
So the planning part of that is really important,
exactly.
that we all
Yeah.
sit down and kinda lay out what we know and what we don't know.
Yeah, you know, to have a couple of working meetings, I
Yeah.
think would be important. I think it's essential, we simply can't do anything until we start that. That's number one.
I think you need to get approval of what you're gonna, how long they're gonna let you have the building. That's the first one, I think. They're gonna get a 30-year lease or 50-year lease. And you know what you're dealing with.
Exactly, yeah, and we'll have to have it in writing, we have a great relationship right now, but, that's the time you put things in writing and have agreements, so that you maintain good relationships.
Yeah.
Is the west wall in that storage area, is that concrete or is that brick part of that other, part of the Marcusi building?
I have to look again. I think it's concrete. I don't think it's part of the Marcuse building. I think they're separate.
Just the back corners got blocked, it's like where from the chimney is back
chimney,
is,
or chimney back.
okay.
But I'd have to look again. I don't remember if they covered it with wood or if it is part of the wall. I'd have to open it up and look in there again.
That side storage area on the west wall was up against brick, I think.
Yeah.
But the closed-in office area, I
Well, I think only part of it is up, yes, is brick.
don't know.
I have to go in there and look again. I didn't pay attention to that. I wouldn't think that they're shared common walls.
Next,
I doubt it too.
next Thursday, the finance committee meeting is meeting at noon. And on the 9th, it might be worth pulling a few more people together and talking about at least what people wanna do. and
The
what they
9th at
don't
noon?
know what to do, yeah.
Okay. One thing that's available that wouldn't work for this building is tax credits for historic buildings.
I don't think it's even a historic building.
No, we couldn't use it. No, they'd never fund that.
But if, I mean, it would be your guys' best interest to probably do something sooner than later because of the roof. We need to fix the roof.
Yeah.
Right away.
Do you think your Band-Aid did enough to get us through the winter,
I don't know. I
Depends
know
on-
it stopped it now.
right?
There's no water coming in. I've been watching it, this, but, using caulking, roof caulking, it doesn't last forever, especially with, if we get really cold, and it looks like we're gonna get cold again. Mostly what, lows in the single digits starting
Right.
this weekend. Yay, I'm loving it. I've already seen 5 snowstorms since mid-September.
So let me know if you guys wanna meet. that
Absolutely.
meeting.
Is that good with you, Mike,
What's that?
to meet?
Yeah,
Yeah, and Mike?
You want me there?
Just kind
Most
of a
definitely.
education
Yeah, could we
session.
come and listen in and maybe have a discussion?
Does that have to be a public notice?
Oh, yeah. Oh. That's probably not allowed, right? I don't know.
Depends on,
2 commissioners does have to be a public notice. Maybe you guys can go ahead and have your meeting, and we could schedule like a working meeting a week
Yeah.
from Wednesday. And just kind of sit around the table and talk about what the future potentially looks like.
it'd be good
Pros
for
and
us to
cons.
probably go over the restrict, planning session that we had. What what the outcomes of that session were, at least you have an idea. And then we probably need to gear up a little bit more too about what makes sense as a future.
Yeah, does that work? Maybe a week from
Yeah.
Wednesday? We'll put it on the agenda and
Okay.
just make it a working meeting.
Yep.
Wouldn't make any decisions.
Are you talking November 8th?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Fine, because you've already got a roundtable discussion set for 10 a.m.
right.
on
How about
Monday.
1 o'clock? Does that work right after lunch?
Yeah.
Want me to email you as a reminder?
A real positive thing is Dr. Kenny and his wife are closing on a house,
Nice.
so that's good.
That's excellent.
That'll be big.
Hey,
Thanks,
thanks,
Kyle.
Kyle. Did you want an answer on the roof today, on the insulation? Okay.
I just brought everything up to you, cause everything I figured to figure out and then talk about it, cause I know that you guys are gonna have to do something about it. I mean, you could do the roof if you want, you wanna put in the 1,600, or do you wanna wait until? I mean, I think the roof patch I did will last for a little bit. I don't see it, but if it isn't, if there's something happens, I'll go up there and take care of it. But,
Well, how long does it take you to take them to get that material for you?
probably a week.
Then we'll be in the cold.
Well, we're already in the cold. We're
Yeah.
gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to get it and then sit. And wait for the day to happen where I get above 40, where I can get up there and take care
Well, I
of
think
it.
I'd make the motion to go ahead and
I'm-
approve.
I'm gonna ask you to hold off on that.
Okay.
And the reason is because we have another idea in the cooker that I wanna
Okay.
talk to you about. I think we at least need to look at every option before we commit money that we just don't have.
Well, I think that if that roof's gonna continue to leak, then we're gonna have more problems. than
Mike just said he
we've
thought it would go for a while. We're getting into the cold already, which is not the time to do a roof anyway, you know that as a
got. But what
contractor.
I'm saying is that if it's gonna present a problem when it's cold, we should have that stuff on hand so that if we do get 3 or 4 days of 40-degree weather,
Yeah.
then we can get it patched.
I do agree with you on that. If you're
I
gonna,
do too.
you wait too long and then we're gonna have still more then we're gonna have a serious problem with it really, if we can stay cold or I missed that window. You miss that window, and we go into November like we did last year, November, or December, January, and February, and there'll be no chance to fix it, and we'll just have nothing but problems.
So what you're saying is you want to have the 1,600 to get the equipment and just have it on hand if needed.
If
Yeah.
needed.
I
That's-
could be okay with that, but I don't wanna start anything until we have planning done,
Yeah,
financial package, and we've looked at every avenue.
or when is there, you guys' meeting in the 9th, is that like a week away,
A week from Wednesday,
a week from
Yeah.
Wednesday?
The 8th.
9 days.
8th? I mean, we could wait and see what they're feeling of what they're gonna do too first, I mean, cause realistically, they're responsible for the roof right now.
No. We had a 1-year contract in 2012, then in exchange for housing extension for 1 year temporary, we would maintain the building and maintain borrowing of that
Oh, okay.
office space or that meeting space. We have no contract, no agreement at this point.
I mean, it's up to you guys, but I would hate to miss a window, I mean, I know we're gonna get a window in November, we always do. It always warms up, I mean, but, and it usually always warms up in December too, usually, last year it didn't. But, I mean, we always get a 1-week little window in there, you know, we do, I mean, it happens. When Thanksgiving hits, it usually, then anything can happen. But, I mean, if you wanna wait until the 8th, until you guys have a feeling of after their meeting, you'll have a better idea, or just order it now and we take care of it. If we're gonna have to maintain it, and we're gonna stay in there for the next couple of years, then maybe we do fix the roof. At least fix the roof before, if we're gonna be in there, you know, even for another year or 2, 5 or 10, and they won't give you a lease, then then you're gonna probably wanna fix the roof anyways. Would you?
Because they aren't gonna do it.
No, they're not.
Regardless, they're not gonna do it.
No. So, I mean, I guess it comes down to, we probably should fix the roof, even if we're only gonna be, if they're not gonna sign a lease and we're gonna be, we don't know, 5 years, 10 years, or 1 year, we don't know, but it would be our obligation to Allison and them to fix the roof, I would think. I mean, wouldn't you guys think so on that?
I would just as soon get it done, because the bottom line is, I think the county's gonna end up doing it anyway,
Yeah,
one way or the other.
yeah, I agree. So I would probably say that we would probably go ahead and order the materials, have it sit here, and fix the roof if we have an obligation for, you know, with Allison and them anyways, at this point.
We don't have an obligation, that's what I was saying. We have an obligation because all our employees should have a place to work.
That's what I
safe.
meant for employees, yes.
Right, but we don't have any kind of a contractual or MOU agreement whatsoever.
Yeah, but it's, I mean, it's our employees.
It is, the problem is it's not our building, and we really should be following the legal process. I know I sound like a
Yeah,
droning robot on it, but we have a good relationship with the hospital, but that is not the time that you start skirting doing things right. I'm fine with getting the material, but at this point, we have got to follow the planning structure before we just start wasting money.
yeah.
And that's not to say that fixing the roof is a waste of money, but it is not our building, we don't have an agreement, we haven't even talked to the hospital. So, you gotta do things right. We're not mom and pop businesses that are able to do what's right when it's right to do it. We are government and we have to be able to defend ourselves and have a process. Which is why, you know, there's such frustration with government, but we're not gonna change that in Broadwater County. But we could get bit by it.
And if we don't use it over there, we can use it at jail, can we not?
Yeah, you could.
So if you were gonna make a motion to get the equipment, and use the building CIP, I would second that motion. That's it, at this
I'll
point.
second the motion to buy the materials to patch the ambulance building roof with CIP funds.
And I didn't make the motion, but I will make a motion that we use the CIP funds to buy the material for patching roofs,
There you
okay?
Okay, motion's seconded to get the material for patching roofs, which will come out of our CIP fund. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Motion passed.
I mean, I don't know, I mean, the building is not a bad building, I guess, I've thought about it a little bit, but it does take a lot of work in it. But it depends on how, you know, whether you guys take it over or not. I mean, how much money you would put into it. But we always have to fix things that our employees are in. I agree, I mean, I feel that way, but,
we're all on that same
yeah.
page.
But I mean, I wouldn't go much further until you get, my opinion, until we get, you know, a lease from those guys, and it could work out pretty good if we, you know, that building, if we use it. I mean, we need a building, we need some space. Everybody needs a little bit more room.
Well, the thing is we're not a shrinking county. We're not losing personnel, we're not having less obligations for the public. So, you know, whether or not we address our growth today, we're gonna have to address it at some point,
Yeah,
but we've gotta address it right. And with a long-term view, because otherwise you're just spending the same money 2 or 3 times.
I agree on that.
Well, Mike, thank you. Put in a lot
Thanks,
of
Mike.
work.
Yeah.
It.
You guys have a good day.
You too. How's your knee?
And he's good.
Chest full of junk.
Chest full of junk. It's going away. I went and spent a couple days in
in single digits and teens, and it took it and killed it. I hope.
This from Schauber, this is, on that North Pine. Schauber went and did the survey on that.
Oh, yeah, that's, yeah. And that building down there is, Perry Building is on our property.
We knew that.
I don't know by how much, but they surveyed it out. She didn't know, what's the gal's name? I can't remember her name.
Bernadette?
Bernadette thought you could just swap a piece or something somewhere, or you could just have him pay you a square footage price for that, for where it's sitting.
That needs a claim.
Merchants Bank.
I'm gonna send that back to the chairman. That wouldn't be in the mail if it were. It's addressed to the commission, actually.
It's what?
I'll give that to Michelle.
We do, but it's also supposed to be split. I'm not sure if it's been split yet. The city's gonna pay half, So we should probably have a motion, because it'll probably need to come out of it.
This is on skid steer, is that what we're reading?
That was addressed to me as past chairman of the commission. I'm gonna just put this
Yeah,
aside so we
that's
can
the one,
address
that's
it
the
and don't
final
forget.
Do we have to, they're just gonna give us a bill of sale on that,
I would imagine they would send a bill of sale.
Mike, would you please give this back to the chairman? So this, claim with Schaubers, this is supposed to be split between the city and the county. So I believe our share will be 1,200. It doesn't look like it's split already. We'll need Michelle to prepare a claim, but I would move that we pay our balance from, Pilt.
Okay.
It's 1,200. We already decided we'd do that. This is just solidifying the motion, or the action taken months ago.
I'll second that.
Move second to, thing with Schauber Road, surveying.
Schauber,
Schauber, is that, and we're paying half of that figure there, is that right?
we're paying half of the total.
And I think that's the total there, isn't it?
I don't know.
We get half of the total. Move second, any more discussion, not, we'll go to a vote, all in favor,
Aye.
motion passed. Letter from him back. I'll just read it off, it's not short here. Dear Franklin Michael, are enclosed to the Montana Business Association Connection Incorporated reports the third quarter ending September 30th, 2017 for Grover County revolving loan fund. There were no new loan funding during the quarter, and all existing loans are current and performing as agreed. Please review the included information. Let me know if you have any questions. Norm McKinley. That's all the mail and claims that I have. Let's just see here. Let's fix that too. That's all the claims and mail that I have. Anybody else got anything else? If not, we're adjourned
I
at
do.
1:50.
I do, Franklin. I was waiting to see if Mike did, without just jumping in, so just give me a minute, to answer the question. So, first off, we did get the Esri report, and I will pass that to you guys, and we can pass it back and give it to Ann. That, comes to Jim Hone, but since he is my predecessor, I've been reading it since, and it's a good read. I wanna present that for the minutes. Esri is one of our, one of the companies that shares business growth information, economic growth information, that kind of thing. Jim Hone is also the one that started Gateway Economic Development, which is now MBAC, years ago. And he started the revolving loan fund that we have, which I believe is a balance of about $250,000. And that's in the commission office, if you guys wanna read it. This is something that was brought up the other night, and I didn't highlight it, I could, but you guys can find it on page 4. Page 4. This is called infographic, where in the West young people are moving. This was an article by a national publication called High Country News. What it did is it showcased 7 counties in the United States that are bucking the trends and actually attracting young people. A lot of counties other than college counties are losing your 20 to 30-year-olds. Broadwater County is as well, but we are attracting with these other 6 counties in a very high number of 30 to 40-year-olds, which is young families. One of the things that when you drill down that's attracting them is that we're 12th in the state for education, and Montana ranks very high in the nation for education. Our proximity, of course, to Bozeman and Helena is a piece of that, but also the vibrancy of our community, the fact that our taxes are low, our housing is fairly reasonable. So Kelly's comments spoke to one aspect of our growth, but when you've got the economic development groups going on this, specifically BCDC, we targeted about another 14 reasons that people are moving to Broadwater County and substantially to the middle of the county, with a lot of growth on the southern end, but not by any means most of it, and then the north end as well is probably third. So, pretty cool. Our population has almost doubled since 1990, according to that article. So that will also be in our office, or you can, or I can email it to you if you guys are so inclined. So I'm gonna move on and let you guys read that on your time. We got an email on the SALT decisions being made by Congress. Apparently, the Contractors Association for the country is going to oppose what those proposals are. It's expected to hit local governments hard and will hit lower and middle income families extremely hard. What that is a proposal to do is get rid of the tax deduction for homes, home purchases. So if you guys want to put together a response, I think that would be good to come from the commission, and we can work on that.
I don't understand why we just get things to where everybody's got something going on, they wanna slam me with this.
What's that?
Well, you're finally getting the housing building industry going back at a decent rate, now you wanna slam us, you're not gonna deduct, so everybody, you know.
Oh, I know, it's probably one of the dumbest things I've heard, but that's our, yeah, it's what they're doing. It hasn't gone through Congress yet, this has just been proposed at this point by the president, but he does have support.
Isn't this and the comment ends like November 24th.
So maybe we could put that on the agenda next week and draft up some kind of response? Okay. So the other thing is I'm working on just a simple ad for the newspaper to let people know that we're having a roundtable discussion next week with Representative Flynn, Senator Sales, and any candidates for HD 70 or any potential candidates for District 3 for the commission. I will email that to you guys this afternoon. I don't have it quite done. And then if you would just get back to me by 5 if you see any edits that you want to add. Since I will be requesting an ad, I would like support of this commission, so it will cost us a little bit of money.
I'm okay with that.
All right.
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay, so the other thing is, we've talked about this twice now in public meetings. There is a grant, there is a 30% match, 20% of that is in kind, 10% is cash. And that is for us, Broadwater County, to hire an attorney. Franklin, if you just wanna pass it back, that would be fine, I can hand it to Ann. This is for Broadwater County to support the Johnny Crow Wildlife Habitat Restoration Project. That's the one that was recently litigated by the two environmental groups at the 11th hour. What we can do is file with the Elkhorn Restoration Group, the Elkhorn Working Committee, Jefferson County, maybe RY Timber, Public Safety, County Attorney's Office, BCDC, MBAC, Chamber of Commerce, Montana Valley Marketing Group. We could actually file an amicus brief and support the Forest Service and logging RY Timber side of this project. Are you guys good with that if I put in the work?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna be requesting about $2,500. I am working with Matt Arno and Corey Swanson, and we'll have a draft done. I'll send it via email. So, I'll give you until the end of whatever day that is, so just keep watching your email. Last thing, I think, it's not the last, no. So CenturyLink is able to get CAF dollars, which are federal dollars, to do a build-out for high-speed internet for the entire county. Last we heard, we were on the target for 2018, which is next year. I want to solidify that with CenturyLink. And so I just drafted a letter this morning. I would like to send it from the commission. BCDC is sending one as well. And I'm going to also work with Montana Valley Marketing on a similar request. So if you guys would like to read that, I would like to send it off ASAP. It does not preclude us from working with Blackfoot. It just gets us high-speed, reliable internet for the whole county. So here's the letter.